Starbucks got their lavender powder in for spring. I could come, it's so good. And if you're curious about what I order, I do a venti white chocolate mocha with only 3 pumps white chocolate, and then I add a scoop of lavender powder and then lavender cold foam, and it is just perfection. If you love spring floral flavors, if you already know you don't like lavender and don't like florals, there's nothing different enough about this for you to like it. If you don't like matcha, don't get matcha. If you don't like lavender, don't get it. But if you do, it's so good. It's like what I order until they run out every single year. Welcome back to Romance and Rosé, where we exclusively read romance and hardly ever drink rosé. It is the first Friday of March, so let's go over all the books I read in the month of February. We kicked off the month with the audiobook for Just for the Cameras by Megan Quinn. I am a huge Megan Quinn fan. She writes some of the funniest rom-coms. She always has amazing casting when it comes to her audios, and this was no different. Her narrators were fantastic. Just for the Cameras is a fake dating football romance about a player who finds himself and his team in need of a PR boost, and so they sign some of the players up to do volunteer work at the local zoo. And our female lead is very passionate about flamingos and runs the flamingo enclosure at the zoo. This is like a grumpy sunshine sports romance in the truest sense of the word. Now, with all of that said, this was not my favorite Megan Quinn, and I think it's because I felt like the male lead took being grumpy to an excessive level, to where he really was just an asshole to her for no reason for a lot of the book until he warmed up. He was so attracted and so drawn to her that every time he had those thoughts, he had to be even more of an asshole to her to prove that he didn't like her. It just felt very juvenile and unnecessary. So even when he did start to give into his feelings, and yes, he does eventually have moments of groveling and being really apologetic for his behavior towards her, I almost found myself being beyond the point of caring for his apology by the time he came around, especially because she was like literally nothing but accommodating, delightful, kind, like the entire book. Even when he was being an asshole to her and she was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna subject myself to this. I don't want to have a meal with you. You're not nice. She still did it in a way that didn't feel like she was stooping to his level. He did have his reasons. He did have a very like sad, traumatic backstory, an awful dad. But even with all that, I found myself having a harder time connecting with it than maybe other Megan Quinn heroes that I have read and enjoyed in the past. But even with all that, I still feel like I would recommend this to people, especially if you know that you don't mind a true asshole hero. If you have been following along with my videos, you know that I have been looking for the perfect book to scratch my knight ex princess romance itch. So when I saw The Princess Knight, I said, methinks that has potential. And you know what? I gave it a fair shot and ended up DNFing around 65%. And I want you to know it's not because it wasn't good. It just was nowhere near scratching that itch that I was looking for. The princess in the story is very strong in spirit and in personality, but she's very feminine. She's very girly, and she has been engaged to this prince that she really does care for and was really looking forward to marrying since she was a child. And right before their engagement, which was very important to her kingdom, the prince breaks off the engagement and tells her that it's not because he doesn't care about her, he just doesn't think she has the potential to be the strong warrior queen that his kingdom needs. And this is devastating to her, a complete betrayal. And so she decides, I'm gonna show him how strong and powerful I can be, and I'm going to go into this like knight warrior training program. And I think from the beginning I just found that kind of icky, because even if she wanted to learn how to be a princess warrior and how to fight, I wish that she had chosen that for herself, because that was something she wanted for her, and not because a man told her that she wasn't good enough and that she had to prove to him that she was. And like I said, I didn't finish it, so I don't know how the story concludes and what the ultimate message was in the end. And this bronzed like David Bowie character we have on the cover is not the prince. So she does end up having a different love interest who is kind of like the prince's right-hand man, and he was really excited to get into this academy. So ultimately, it just wasn't giving what I wanted it to give. I'm kind of looking for a princess story where even if she does know how to fight, even if she is a warrior, that she's really strong and confident in her femininity from the beginning, and that is celebrated and praised and admired by the knightly hero. So I'm still on the hunt, you guys. Someone actually did suggest, what was it? The Knight and the Moth? And I am on the waiting list for that audio on Libby. I think I have like 8 more weeks though, so we'll be getting to that soon-ish. Then I read volume 2 of Under the Oak Tree. You guys, I'm obsessed with this webcomic. And if you don't know, I'm obsessed with romance webcomics in general. There's this platform called Monta. I've been a subscriber for a long time and keep up with dozens of webcomics a week. My Goodreads numbers, if I could add how many webcomics I'm keeping up with every year, would be boosted for sure. This also sort of fits into that Princess X Knight category. I 100% recommend the webcomics. The art is beautiful and the characters are complex, but they also have novels. And our female lead, Maximilian, is married off to this knight right before this war. They have their wedding night. He goes off and she doesn't see him for like 2 or 3 years. Her dad, very abusive, and she truly believes that she is dumb, worthless, nothing. No one would ever want her. She has a really bad stutter. And so when he wins the war and ends up gaining title, money, accolades, it's rumored that he's gonna divorce her and marry someone else. And she thinks, of course, why wouldn't he? So when he comes back from the war to claim her and take her to their shared home, she's like surprised and just waiting for the other shoe to drop and for him to say that he's gonna divorce her and marry this other princess. What she doesn't know is that he is so in love and super obsessed with her. And so it is this realizing her own worth and her own capabilities. And even now in book 2, she's still struggling with that. The webcomic, as far as storyline, has updated beyond the points of the novels, but I've loved rereading their story from comic book version to the page because the details are just different. The things you pick up on that you would just scroll past on a comic illustration just make it a more full-bodied experience. I would highly recommend. Then the audiobook gods were smiling upon me because I picked up not 1, but 2 5-star audiobooks back to back, baby. Number 1, Mariposa by Lexi Axelson. This was a dark military ex-boyfriend's dad audiobook. And since I finished it, I have convinced so many other people to pick up this audiobook. Like, I cannot stop recommending it. The writing is incredible. The duet style narration, flawless. The spice was so good while never feeling forced or unnecessary. The female lead, being a fiery Latina who like comes from those similar cultures that I come from, just made everything have such a familiar, comforting undertone. I'm just obsessed with everything about it. I don't want to give too much away. Read it. This next 5-star audiobook, I will be honest with you, I picked it up because the male narrator in Mariposa is James Cassidy, and I had never heard James Cassidy before. And while the female narrator for that, Janine Granda, was also fantastic, I already knew I loved and adored Janine's performances, but I wanted to hear more James Cassidy. And so in chatting with him and my friend Tiffany, they recommended the next audiobook I pick up be Of Ink and Alchemy by Sloane St. James. And they were not wrong, dolls. This was a dark, sexy, psycho, stalker, best friends to lovers, dual tattoo artist, spicy romance book. Seriously, this book was just like a grocery list of all the things I love wrapped up into one delicious audiobook. There's a little mystery thrown in there. The spice is actually insane, and you have to read it, okay? If you trust me, if you like what I like, you're gonna like this audiobook. I'm also continuing my journey through the Addicted Calloway Sisters series and made my way through Hot House Flower, which was The book I think I was most excited in this entire series for, because I just love Daisy and Reich. Since I first saw them side by side on page, I said, they're gonna be the ones. And they were. I loved them so much. And while I do enjoy a very like large, severe taboo age gap, that is not what they were. She was 16 when they met, and nothing untoward ever happened between them. She was a little flirty, but he knew that she was pretty off limits. But then she's growing up, she's a model, she's been through a lot, and he's the only one who is really there for her. Her other sisters have so much going on themselves, and she's sort of that personality type that will slink into the shadows and let them deal with their stuff and never wants to detract from that. So she will suffer in silence while everyone else goes through their own bullshit. And Reich is the only one who actually sees her and sits with her in it. I just found that relationship dynamic between them very sweet and very beautiful. Especially because the last book I felt was such bullshit. I hated it. Did I love Connor Cobalt? Yes. Did I love Rose? No, but I loved Rose for Connor Cobalt. I hated the reality TV show story arc. That was just so fucking stupid that this book felt like a breath of fresh air in the series. Would you believe these next two were also 5 stars? February was just a good month. Can you believe I only read 8 books, but half of them were 5 stars? There have been months where I have read 20 books and maybe 2 of them were 5-star. I will take a month like this over those any day. My favorite taboo forbidden romance author, QB Tyler, came out with a new book, Wilder Saint. It was her first attempt at a step-siblings romance. It was perfect. It was flawless, absolutely no notes. The audio for this is incredible as well. And while this was still definitely taboo, it definitely felt less dubious than some of her other more taboo books. Our male and our female lead are basically the same age. Their parents got married when they were like 4 and 5, and were only married for like 1 or 2 years before the dad tragically passed away in a convenience store robbery gone wrong. So the mom kept her as a stepdaughter in the family, helped raise her, but never officially like adopted her. But they did grow up together. And experiencing that traumatic event at the convenience store and experiencing that traumatic convenience store event, losing her father and his stepdad, really bonded them, and they became each other's emotional support person. And that just turned into like the most pure, raw, beautiful connection as they grew and evolved into young adults. If you love spicy books and love audiobooks, 2 recommendations from this video today: Wilder Saint and Of Ink and Alchemy. Those are by far the spiciest books I read all month. And not just spicy in frequency, but in quality, because they both have very beautiful, well-formed romance stories around the sex. But this story is told in past and present POV, where they're tired of sneaking around and not being open and public about how they've only ever their entire lives loved each other. And now that they're grown up, her dad's dead, his mom is marrying a different man, there's really nothing keeping them from being able to be together. I think even if you're not super into taboo books, this felt to me like the lesser of some other more taboo books I've picked up in the past. And lesser in the taboo nature of it, not lesser in the quality of story. Then I ended the month on the highest of high, wrapping up Daggermouth by H.M. Wolf. I saw this book fucking everywhere. Everyone was talking about it, but no one was really saying anything about it. And so I went in relatively blind, and I'm grateful for that. I am grateful for that because my eyes glued to the page. And how you know this book is so good, it is a dark dystopian, true enemies to lovers. And I normally don't like enemies to lovers because if it's contemporary romance, I feel like there's never a good enough reason for them to be enemies. Maybe dislike to lovers. But in this story, they have truly understandable, valid reasons to want each other dead. And for most of the book are like actively trying to kill each other and find themselves in impossible circumstances to navigate unless they sort of like build an alliance and do it side by side. This does end on a cliffhanger. I heard it's supposed to be a duology. I don't think we have a release date yet for book 2. I do know that HM did independently publish this, so you can read it on Kindle Unlimited, but then it got picked up by a traditional publisher and won't be available to purchase like physical copies or the audio, I think until September later this year. This was giving Hunger Games, it was giving Divergent, it's giving John Wick, but not in a way that is copying any of those things. It still felt very new and fresh and original. I felt like I could see it as a TV series or a movie in the future, and absolutely believe that it has the potential to be as big as some of those other box office series. And something that I also really loved is that in this story, you don't just care about the 2 main characters. Every character that HM put on page felt special and intentional and purposeful and intriguing. Absolutely nothing lacked interest or lulled ever, which made it really exciting to read. I cannot wait for book 2, and I cannot recommend this book enough either. All in all, I'm super happy with how my reading month went. Please comment below if you have read any of these. I want to know what you thought about them, or if you read any books in the month of February, what was your favorite? Thank you so much for watching. We post videos here every Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.